Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the garage. Welcome to another Golden Peas Movie Awards. What is wrong with me? I do my own award show every year, as you guys know, if you've been tuning in. This is the 8th annual Golden Peas. I've been doing it for 8 years now. The last 3 years here on YouTube with my boy Brian Loisauce joining me to hand out these awards. We got 10 categories tonight, and we're going to be honoring movies and performances from the year in film that was 2024, right in the middle of award season. And I know if you guys are movie fans and award season fans, you can't get enough of it. So I figured I would do another award show for you. We're going to get into the broadcast here in just a second. I just want to thank everyone who supported my channel, who supported the podcast, my personal friends who are always involved in kind of helping me put the show on. I really appreciate everybody. There's some thank yous down in the description to the video too, but you guys are the best. And thank you so much for your support. I really, really appreciate it. Make sure you give a thumbs up to this live stream as it's going. That helps me on YouTube also, and kind of push it out there to hopefully new eyes that have maybe never seen the channel before or listened to the podcast. Real quick, I just want to touch on my rebranding, which if you're tuning in, you probably already know, but 2 Ps on a podcast, I got the vintage gear on tonight, is kind of going away, and I'm shifting to the awards garage. I always greet you guys by saying, welcome to the garage, and I'll see you next time in the garage. So I figured, and I'm out here in the garage. It's snowing outside. I'm cold. I have my little heater down here, and I'm going to see what movies and performances won these Golden Peas this year. The rules are pretty simple. I had a committee this year. I did things a little bit differently to kind of help my sanity. So I had a jury or a committee of 10 people, a very small group of movie lovers, critics, podcasters, and they were kind of my inner circle that helped me come up with the nominees. And that was back in early to mid-December. And then once we had our nominees, we pushed the ballot out after the nominations were announced in the first week of January, I believe. And for about 3 weeks, voting was open. And that was the public. We sent it out to everybody. We got over 350 returns on the ballots. So a lot of people voted this year, and this is what they came up with. These are the winners voted on by you. It's 100% fan voted. So we have 10 categories. I'll let Loisauce and myself kind of explain the categories to you as we get into the award show. There's no reason to talk about them now and then talk about them again later. So let's roll the Golden Peas. I'm going to be here. I'm going to be in the live chat, chatting with you guys on YouTube. Hopefully you're over there. I can't remember if I'm streaming this on Twitter, but if I am, hello to my Twitter folks as well. I don't think I can respond to comments on Twitter, but head over to YouTube and watch it if you want to be on the live stream chat as well. I'm running things here on my computer in the garage. So let's do the Golden Peas, guys. Let's celebrate 2024 in film. Comment over there, thumbs up, do all that stuff. And here is the 2025 Golden Peas Movie Awards.
I know this might sound crazy. I don't want to alarm you.
It's a simple choice, but it should not be made simply.
What happens if we choose the wrong door?
Where were they going? So full of hope? There is no hope!
Welcome to America. You're American, okay? Okay. What kind of American are you?
Dude, I'm you. You're me.
What's up?
Control. not sure they want to hear what I want to play, Johnny.
Make some noise, Big D.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the garage and welcome to the Golden Peas Movie Awards. This is my own personal annual award show honoring the year in film. Obviously, we're just going to be talking about the movies of 2024 tonight. This is essentially a glorified podcast episode, right, Lois Sauce? But we have fun with it. We send out ballots and you guys vote on the winners, which we're going to be revealing to you tonight. We have some friends of ours in the community that are going to be presenting for a lot of these awards tonight. And my buddy, now I've been doing this for 8 years. This is the 8th annual Golden Peas. I'm pretty sure this comes up every year, Lois Sauce, and I've got to just sit down and figure it out. But I think this is the 5th year in a row and like the 3rd year on YouTube that you've done the Golden Peas with me as my designated co-host, my DD over there, my designated driver. How are you, man? Brian, Lois Sauce, what's up, man?
I'm wonderful. Thanks for having me back yet again. I mean, don't ask me how long we've been doing this, but it's a joy every time.
Absolutely, man. I love talking movies with you. I love seeing what the community decided were some of the best of the year. It's always interesting. We always get a really eclectic kind of mix of films, and that was no different this year. So we do have 10 categories that we will be awarding tonight. You know, it's kind of growing a little bit. Like when Lois Sauce and I first started doing it, it was like 6. And I add 1 or 2 every year, and now we're up to 10 categories. I'm going to have to stop at some point, but right now we're at 10. And I'm excited to see where we go. Before we get into the awards, Lois Sauce, as we are honoring 2024 in film, I have to ask you, and I'll give my opinion as well if anybody cares, but what did you think, man? What did you think of the year in film? What's your grade? How would you sum it up if you were telling somebody about the year in film?
That's a great question. I am always of the opinion that every year is a great year for film. I think I say this
Amen.
every time, but like, you know, if you're asking me like in comparison to all of the other years, I mean, it's all good, baby. You know,
yeah.
This is definitely the year of the sequel. I mean, if you look at the top 10 grossing movies of the year, all but one of them are sequels, which I guess is par for the course in Hollywood, but there's usually an original film or a film that's not, you know, a part 2 or a part 3 that sneaks on there. But really all but one of them are sequels. And going into award season this year, we've got some interesting controversies. The Amelia Perez controversy, the Brutalist controversy, the Anora controversy. I mean, it just seems like almost every film on the list is cursed in some way.
Right.
But this is also the year that we have a movie like The Substance nominated for Best Picture, nominated for multiple awards. So lots of surprises, lots of twists and turns happening. As always.
For sure. I mean, I echo, what we say pretty much every year when we wrap up the year and do this. I mean, it was a great year for film because we got movies.
Right.
I mean, I love movies. I love cinema. So as long as movies are coming out, I mean, even the COVID year when we weren't really going out to the cinema, it was a great year for film. You just had to stream a lot of them. But, I'm always going to be there when we have new releases coming out and we have new, unique, original filmmakers. Like, you mentioned the Brutalist, like a voice like Brady Corbet, or of course, Sean Baker this year with Anora, Coralie Farja, of course, for The Substance. I mean, just so many great, artists that are, sharing their art with us. And I really, really do love it. I don't know because I haven't sat down and kind of compared it to some of my other favorite years. Like I know I really loved 2018 when Parasite, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and all that. But I haven't really compared like the year, how good was this year. But I do think that 2024 was probably one of my favorite in recent memory because just the quality on my letterbox when I'm looking at the ratings, like I have so many films that are like 4 or higher. Like, I mean, it's like over half the movies I saw, I gave like a 4 or above rating. Like, I just love so many movies that came out last year. And to that point, in the Oscars Best Picture discussion right now, 4 of the 10 movies nominated for Best Picture were in my top 12 of the year. So it was a great year for me. I mean, we're going to talk about some of these specific films as we get through the conversation tonight, but I think it was a great year for film in 2024. And I'm excited to see what the community selected for the winners here in these 10 categories. So you want to get into it, man?
Let's do it.
Let's do it, guys. So the 10 categories that we're going to be going over tonight, I might have to remind myself. We're going to be giving away the Golden P in the following categories: Best Movie Poster, which is a fun one, Best Animated Movie, Best Comedy, Best Action, Best Horror Movie. We have a new category this year, which is called Wait What, which is the bad movie, the bad movie of the year. Of course, for performances, we will be doing the best male performance and best female performance. And then to round out the night, we're going to give out our best director award and, of course, the best movie of the year. Loy Sauce, we're going to get things kicked off. We do have 7 presenters tonight, but you and I are going to be announcing the winners. You know how like the Oscars or whatever will kind of do those off stage like slides or whatever.
Yeah.
Like in a previous night, such and such won best, key grip or whatever, and they just kind of show it before they go to commercial. We're going to kind of do that for a couple categories to speed things along this evening because I do want to have a good discussion about these films with you. So we're going to start things out tonight by giving away the award for the best movie poster. Loy Sauce, I will throw up some images on the screen so people know what was nominated in this category. But you want to list the nominees real quick, and then I will reveal the winner in this category.
Sure. The nominees for Best Movie Poster are Challengers, The First Omen, I Saw the TV Glow, Mean Girls, and Nosferatu.
I loved your pronunciation on that. It did something to me.
Mm.
All right. And the winner for Best Movie Poster, by the way, voted on by you guys. All these categories were fan voted. I did not have a say except for my votes, but that's it. The Best Movie Poster this year goes to Luca Guadagnino's Challengers. And it is the poster with Zendaya wearing the reflective sunglasses with the 2 gentlemen in each lens, kind of the love triangle that we get in that film.
That's very thematically relevant.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I remember seeing that poster like back in March or whenever it came out. I remember going, that's a fucking sweet poster. So I'm glad it got nominated. What do you think about this, man? Did you have a favorite among this bunch, or are you on board with Challengers?
I think I voted for Challengers. I think I mentioned this last year. The art of the movie poster is somewhat of a lost art. I'm a big marketing person. I work in marketing, so a poster can say a lot, and it's so frustrating when we get routinely these just lazy, uninspired, Photoshop nightmares.
floating heads. Yeah.
Right. So this is bona fide poster artwork. I don't know if this was done digitally or if it was painted or what, but one thing I can tell you is that it's not lazy. I love how the purple sunglasses add just a pop of color. And like I said, you have Mike Feist in one lens, Josh O'Connor in the other, that really great. Just speaks volumes about the movie's content.
It just sums up the movie too, which is awesome. You can look at it and you go, okay, I know what that is.
Right.
The tennis aspect, the love triangle aspect, her kind of being a badass. I mean, you just kind of get all of it from the poster, which I think is great too.
Right. The First Omen, really any of the First Omen posters could have been contenders. If you look, at Imp Awards or whatever and search The First Omen, really any of the posters that came out for that film that really convey like the shivery imagery that is prevalent in the movie. I just have to say this right off the bat. That movie ended up in my top 5 favorite movies of the year.
Oh, wow. It's a good one. It's
unpopular opinion, but in terms of horror movies, that just knocked me on my ass.
I really liked it too. I really liked it too. I love Nosferatu here. I think that may have been what I voted for, but I'm also biased because that was my number one movie of the year. But I just love Orlok and the creepy long fingers kind of gliding down her cheek, and
It
there were
rides the
also a
line.
couple other ones. Go
Oh,
ahead.
I'm so sorry. Go ahead, please.
No, I was gonna say there's also a cult, kind of like what you were saying with the first Omen, but there was a good series of posters for Nosferatu as well.
For sure. Yeah, it kind of rides that line between grotesqueness and sensuality, like really just as the film does. And just like the starkness of the black and white and the negative space, but then also having the faint purple of the lilac in her hair really ties it all together. Conceptually, it's really like an excellent poster.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. So, best movie poster getting us started. Challengers is on the board. The first movie to receive an award tonight at the Golden Peas. We're going to get into some awards that are going to be given out by some of our special presenters tonight in Alloy Sauce. Up first is our boy Julio, which you may know from the Contrarians podcast. I don't know if he's going to try to be contrarian on his presentation here, but he's going to be giving out the award for the best animated movie. So let's throw it to Julio, and then we will be right back to discuss who ends up winning this category.
Hello, this is Julio from The Contrarians, a podcast that has absolutely nothing to do with animation, but here I am to present the award for Best Animated Movie of the Year. I myself don't watch a whole lot of animation, but that's not because it's not a genre that's worthy of celebration. It's just that it's kind of tricky. You run the risk of going to see a movie that is just made for kids. You're just going to suffer through it if you're an adult, or you might get a movie that's super artsy, really going for the abstract that animation can pull off so well, but then you just come out of it feeling a little dumb. Or you get a really good animated movie, you get just basically what Pixar does almost every time, but you come out sobbing because it just hits you so hard emotionally. So animation is always a tough sell for me, but thankfully, there's a lot of you out there who watch a lot of animated movies and helped the two Ps come to these 5 nominees. I've seen 3 of them, I think, and I know which one I'm rooting for. So let's take a look at the nominees.
Inside Out 2. Memoir of a Snail. Transformers 1. Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Foul. The Wild Robot.
All right, and the Golden P, is that what we're calling it? Golden P goes to The Wild Robot. All right, well, that's not the one I was rooting for. I was hoping, I have 2 black cats, so I was really rooting for Flo. But The Wild Robot, sure. I mean, it's a tearjerker, and it's, you know, if we don't have a Wall-E sequel, might as well do with this. So, congratulations to The Wild Robot and all of you who were rooting for it. Bye.
All right, thank you, Julio. There you go. The Wild Robots wins Best Animated Movie, voted on by the 2Ps community. Loy Sauce, animation. I know you're a fan of it in general. What do you think of this group of 5, and are you satisfied with the Wild Robot winning here?
This is an insanely strong category. I really enjoyed all of these films to varying degrees, but I think the Wild Robot is an excellent choice for the winner. I thought it was really lovely and moving. I know that it's kind of unfair of me to want or expect, but part of me does wish that the animal characters were silent. And for
I get that.
And for being such a dark story, I wish it had kind of the courage of its convictions. But I know it's a movie for kids. And I really loved the animation. It's kind of Ghibli-esque, where you have the almost like Castle in the Sky is my favorite Ghibli film. That kind of juxtaposition of nature and technology. And Lupita Nyong'o does not get enough credit for her voice work in this movie. Oh my goodness. So yeah, I really loved all of these films, but solid winner.
Yeah, I agree. I was going to mention Lupita Nyong'o too, so thank you for doing that. I think she was phenomenal in this film, and also like the growth of her character and kind of the gaining of knowledge throughout the film, but it's knowledge rooted in emotion, which
Hmm.
is a robot. So you wouldn't think that would be the case. You would think more like AI or like, risk management type of approach to what she's doing, but it's a beautiful story, frankly, of motherhood, of parenthood, and of kind of letting go of our little ones. So as a parent, it was like, I mean, this is my top 10 of the year. I don't know if you know that. This was like my number 8 or 9 of the year. So it's my favorite animated film. I did love the movie Flow as well. And you were talking about the animals not talking. There's no talking in that movie. It did not get nominated for the Golden Peas, and I had a couple people, hit me up when they saw the ballot, and I think it just came out too late. Not enough people saw it,
Right.
and it didn't get enough mentions when we did the preliminary ballots for this back in like early December. So I think that's also one of the better animated films of the year that I wanted to make sure I shouted out as well. But of this bunch, I mean, I also love Memoir of a Snail, but I think The Wild Robot is probably the winner for me.
Memoir of a Snail was my pick. I have not cried harder at a film in
Oh, wow.
I don't know how long. I don't know. I wasn't expecting a whole lot from it. I just watched it on my couch, and I went through
yeah.
like half a box of tissues. Just like the stop motion animation, just like the intricate kind of craftsmanship at play, and like a very moving story. A little bit of dark humor peppered in there. I just loved it to pieces. Wallace and Gromit I was concerned about because they're really near and dear to my heart. I didn't want Netflix to screw it up. Aardman's last couple films were not really up to snuff, and I didn't really think the series could continue without Peter Sallis, excuse me, the original voice actor for Wallace. So I was worried, but I laughed so hard from beginning to end. And Transformers 1, I think, also deserves a shout out because it's the first Transformers movie to be anywhere close to being good. Maybe Bumblebee accepted, and it's the first one to outright bomb, and nobody cares about it. But I had a blast watching it.
I will not allow the 2007 Transformers slander on this podcast, sir. Is it 2007 with Shia LaBeouf?
2007.
I love that. I love that one. But that's just me. But I'm not necessarily saying it's a good movie. I hear what you're saying, but I think Megan Fox under the hood of the car did something to me. I don't know. It just hasn't.
I think she did something to all of us.
Transformers 1 is probably my favorite since then, though, which is a long stretch to go without having a movie that I would revisit, which is probably the first one in the bunch. So
it's just the first time that the story invested me in these robots as three-dimensional characters. I mean, I actually cared about what was happening, which is way more than I can say for any of the other Transformers movies. They finally got it right, and no one cared.
Yeah, exactly. That's fair. Well, the two-piece community cared enough to nominate it. It didn't quite squeak out the victory, though. Went to The Wild Robot. Thanks again to Julio for presenting that award. The Wild Robot is your best animated movie for 2024. And we're going to be shifting over to the next category, which is going to be for best comedy film. Our buddy Stu from Stu World Order is a first-time presenter this year. He's going to be giving out the award for best comedy. We will be right back.
Hi, this is Stu from SWOProductions.com and the Stu World Order podcast, and I'm here to present the nominees and the eventual winner for the best comedy category. They say in this day and age that it's very, very hard, if not impossible, to make a good comedy movie. They say you can't do it. You can't make comedy anymore. Comedy has to be a subgenre to other movies. But these nominees are here to bring the yucks and prove that wrong. Now let's take a look at the nominees for the best comedy category.
Babes. Dee Dee. My Old Ass. Snack Shack. Thelma.
Okay, and the winner is... See, it's still sealed. I haven't cheated or anything. I don't know what the winner is. I'm about to find out what the winner is. Refreshing. Let's see, the winner is, for Best Comedy, Dee Dee. Dee Dee is your Best Comedy of the Year winner. Let's hear it for Dee Dee. Yeah! Woo! All right, let's throw it back to Gerald so we can talk a little bit about Dee Dee and get into the rest of the awards.
All right, thank you so much, Stu. That was fun. And our best comedy this year is Dee Dee. What do you think, man? I love that movie. I'm so glad. You know what, though? This is a strong category. Thelma actually ended up in the Best Picture 10 when we get down there. So I thought that may stand a chance. June Squibb, obviously. I just love her so much in that movie. I also love I love all these. I mean, these are all really, really good comedies, really good movies. Dee Dee's your winner, though, Loy Sauce. What do you think of this group of 5 comedy films here?
Well, I have to admit, and I will accept my punishment. So, Gerald, if you want to give me a spanking, I
absolutely. I mean, I was going to do that anyway, but go ahead.
I've only seen 2 of these films.
Oh wow! Have you seen Dee Dee?
No.
Oh man, it's on Peacock right now, I think. Yeah, I think so, yeah.
I definitely would like to catch up with it, but the only ones that I saw were My Old Ass and Thelma.
Yeah,
both of which were excellent.
Yeah. I love both. Both of those were in my top 10 of the year too. Thelma and My Old Ass. I mean, Dee Dee was really close actually. I think Dee Dee was like 13 or 14 on my overall rankings for the year. But this is a strong group. I know you haven't seen them all, but I think my vote went to Thelma here. But Dee Dee is a wonderful, without giving away any plot points or whatever, it's a wonderful coming of age story. But it's kind of like rooted in that like super bad dick humor. And it takes place in the early 2000s, right at the infancy stages of like MySpace and YouTube. And like Dee Dee, our main character, is this young Asian boy who, expresses himself that way through that outlet, making skate videos and that kind of stuff. And that's how he kind of connects in his mind to the world. And now when you fast forward 20 or 25 years, we're all kind of doing that, especially like the youth, so it's a little prophetic in that way. And it was a beautiful snapshot that the filmmaker did of like mixing the like normal narrative that you would see in a film like that with some of the social media, like computer mirroring, if that makes, like, think of a movie like Missing or those kinds of movies where it like shows AOL as the screen or whatever. And it was a lot of that kind of mixed throughout too, to give you to put you back in that place, especially if you live through it with those instant messengers and all that kind of stuff that had just come out.
I did, yeah,
initially. So Dee Dee's a great pick. I'm bummed that you haven't seen some of these guys. I got to be honest with you. I know your sensibilities, and I think you would probably love all these. I mean, they're all really. This might be the strongest category in terms of you could just throw them up and catch one, and that'd be the winner.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, Dee Dee. Dee Dee is your winner for best comedy. Let us know what you think over in the comments and down below. Now, this is exciting for the next category. My son Logan, Logan Loy Sauce. He likes to get involved every year, and this year he chose this category because one of his favorite movies of the year is in this category. We'll see what ends up winning, but he's going to be giving away the award. He's going to be presenting the award for the best action movie this year. My boy Logan, take it away.
Hey, I'm Logan. I'm Gerald's kid. I am announcing the award for best action movie. 1,000+ aura points for whoever wins. Let's take a look at the nominees.
Deadpool and Wolverine. Furiosa. Gladiator 2. Monkey Man. Twisters.
Okay, so there were the nominees. pretty good. I think you know who I'm rooting for. And the award for best action goes to Furiosa, the Mad Max saga, the Furiosa Mad Max movie. That one. Yeah, the one with the Furiosa Mad Max movie. Yeah, cool. Yay, good.
All right, Logan, love you, buddy. Thanks for presenting the award for best action there, and it went to not his favorite, by the way, but it went to Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, which is a movie that I love. Another one, by the way, that ended up in my top 10 of the year. There's only 10 in there, I promise. I don't know how I keep saying that, but another movie that I thought very highly of last year, and another movie kind of like what you said earlier when you were talking about Transformers 1 that nobody saw for whatever reason. Just bombed. What do you think of the action category here, man? What would be your pick? What's missing? Anything you want to say about these films here?
Strong category. I did not see Gladiator 2. But I but I did see all the others. Yeah, it is kind of sad that George Miller doesn't seem to be getting his flowers for this one. I think Fury Road was just such a generational film. And even that, when it was in theaters, wasn't a gigantic hit. I mean, it made its money and whatever, and it's earned its accolades. But I think, I mean, this is a very different film from Fury Road. Fury Road can't be beat for pure high octane thrills. But I liked how Furiosa felt more like this kind of like epic folk legend, kind of like whispered down through generations. Like, I think it's going for something different, and I think the two films complement each other perfectly. I don't know if I'd recommend watching Furiosa without watching Fury Road first, because for some reason the ending of Furiosa it's like it just shows Fury Road like on like on fast forward. I'm like, why did they do that? But anyway, yeah, no, I that was my pick as well of these, just pure, action movie spectacle and craft on display. Deadpool and Wolverine. I mean, to Logan's point, I think it's a properly deranged piece of fan service. I think Justin and I were really kind towards it in our review, and of course, like, the plot's complete nonsense, but it has that kind of like anarchic Deadpool spirit that I think I'm very pleased they got away with as much as they did, considering the kind of rigid form and structure of the MCU. So, I mean, I was a fan of that.
I agree. I think also with Deadpool and Wolverine, I mean, obviously it made, enough money to run Hollywood for years. So, I mean, who am I? But I think when you're thinking of the Deadpool kind of shtick with Ryan Reynolds specifically, it's like, how long can we do this? And what I thought this movie was smart to do was to interject Wolverine, and a very beloved Wolverine in Hugh Jackman. I mean, he was born to play that character. So
I remember thinking they better have a good reason to bring him back. Like, I thought at first I was like, this is just shameless. They're just bringing back everyone they can just because they can. But I was really kind of moved by his inclusion.
Me too. And also, and that was what I was going to mention, because you have Ryan Reynolds kind of doing the Deadpool thing, which is really like a stand-up comedy act. I mean, he's kind of being himself, but he's wearing the Deadpool costume. Well, I mean, I like it, but it's like it's been going on for a while now. You know what I mean? It's like, I mean, my kids don't think I'm funny anymore because I've been telling the same jokes for 10 years, kind of like that, And you interject that Wolverine character, and there is that bit of nostalgia and emotion connected to that for a lot of us fans, but also Hugh Jackman, like, has poured the better part of his career into that character, and he really cares about it too. And I thought they were really smart with it. I thought it was, I don't think I would have enjoyed it nearly as much had it just been Deadpool and 3 or whatever, or
sure,
would have been 4. I guess it would have been 4, right? There's 3 before this one, right? Or would this have been 3? I can't remember.
This one is 3, yeah.
This would have been 3, yeah. So if it had just been Deadpool 3, I mean, I wouldn't have enjoyed it nearly as much. As my point there. So, Furiosa winning, I think, is the right call. Nick, if my co-host is watching, he probably voted multiple times for Twisters, as that was his favorite movie of 2024 across any genre. Nick, I'm so sorry, but if you feel it, chase it, baby. So Furiosa is your best action movie at the Golden Peas this year. Loisos, a category that I know you and I hold near and dear to our hearts. And we got our buddy Joe from the Movie Dumpster to present this year which is also a genre that he follows very heavily on his channel and podcast. So Joe is going to be giving away the award for the best horror movie of the year. Let's see who won, and we will be right back to discuss.
Hey, this is Joe from Movie Dumpster, and I'm here to present the award for Best Horror Movie of the Year. 2024 was an excellent year for horror, and arguably one of the best ones we've had in a long time. So I'm curious to see who takes this one home. Now, without further ado, let's take a look at the nominees for Best Horror Movie.
Alien Romulus. Long Legs. Nosferatu. Smile 2. The Substance.
And the winner is The Substance, and deservedly so. If you haven't checked it out yet, definitely do yourself a favor and pull it up on streaming or buy that 4K. It's definitely worth it. Thank you so much to Two Peas on a Pod for having me, and hope you have a great rest of the show.
Well, look at that. Joe from the Movie Dumpster, thank you so much, man. We really appreciate it. And your best horror movie of the year is also one that's going to be popping up in the best movie category later on, which is The Substance. We've already touched on that a couple times already in our intro, Loy Sauce. Obviously a very influential, very memorable film from the year, and one of the better horror movies. It's also really funny, in my opinion. Like, it's a very darkly funny, satirical take on a lot of things, but The Substance wins Best Horror. Before I get carried away, I want to see what you think of that pick, and would it have been your pick?
Absolutely. The Substance is my film of the year.
Oh, okay. All right.
I think it's just an absolute masterpiece of body horror. An exercise in excess.
Sure.
It has, a lot to say about, like, the value society puts on a woman's age, the pressures inherent in the entertainment industry to look a certain way. So it has some substance underneath all the splatter, but
I see what you did there.
But it just, it also, as you said, culminates in this just outrageous Grand Guignol finale. Just like, you just have to see it to believe it. And
really
I think a movie being made in 2024 that has this level of respect from the industry and critical acclaim, that also, like, Frank Henenlotter and Brian Usna would be proud of, I think is something to be celebrated. Because I'm a sicko, and this is definitely a movie for sickos.
Yeah, I just want to say, I mean, there's no mystery that me and you love this kind of shit. This Cronenberg-esque. I mean, it's just great stuff, and we're gonna eat it up. We're gonna be front row. But, like, the impressive thing, and I've mentioned this on a couple of my awards videos on the channel as of late, but an impressive thing, in my opinion, with The Substance is that everybody involved in that picture, I can't imagine that anybody went into that, whether when she was writing the screenplay, when they were doing storyboards, when they cast Demi Moore. Like, I don't think anybody was ever thinking at any point, we're doing this to win an Academy Award. Like, nobody thought that this would be in the conversation as one of the most prestigiously nominated films of the year based on what it is.
Right.
Because the industry never lifts up genre stories like that. So I think that speaks to a change in the industry, yes, but I think it also speaks to how great this movie is and how much it does kind of stand out in the crowd. Because, I mean, there's never a shortage of those genre films. There's never a shortage of horror, sci-fi. I mean, they're always there. So why this year? And I think it's because of Coralie Farja and how special this movie is, where it does have that messaging to it, but that's not what the movie's about necessarily. I mean, at its core, it's just a fucking crazy, like, you can't believe, you said it best. I mean, you literally, and I know people use that term, but you literally have to see it to believe it. I mean, I was in the theater by myself, unfortunately. I would have loved to have seen it with some friends or even a crowd even, but the last like 30 minutes of this movie is just like you have to pinch yourself. Like you just don't even know if it's real. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I had a big goofy grin slapped on my face throughout almost the entirety of that movie. It's just a really, and it's also just exceedingly well made too. But I'm sure we'll talk about maybe when we get around to director, like just
for sure.
how precise the direction is.
Yeah, for sure. You think Demi Moore's? We're a couple weeks out from the Oscars as this is airing. Are you? You think Demi Moore's on her way to get the Academy Award? What do you think?
Everyone loves a comeback story.
Yeah, I mean, I have her predicted to win right now, but also love Mikey Madison and Honora. So I don't know. I'm kind of torn, but I would obviously be pleased if she won. I wouldn't be upset about it. I mean, it's a great performance, very vulnerable, and Quali too. Quali's really good in the film too.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, really all of these films, it is one of those like you could throw all of them up in the air and catch one, and as you put it, and you know, I to varying degrees, I love all these movies. Longlegs, I found a little overrated.
You know what? I did too. I did too. I don't even know if overrated is the right term because I mean it's a great film. Like we're talking about how the craft and well made. I mean Oz Perkins. I just saw his new movie, The Monkey, as we're sitting here last night. I mean the dude knows how to make a movie. I mean it's very atmospheric. It's very Seven meets Silence of the Lambs. I mean I think he would even tell you that, and that's kind of the feeling of the film. But that's what I really enjoyed about it was the feeling versus what's happening. You know what I mean? Like just the atmosphere of that film is really what impressed me the most, and the craft of it. Like I said, the technical stuff. But I also think,
and of course, Nicolas Cage is always fun to watch.
Nick Cage doing his thing, yeah. Whenever he goes like on the other side of the meter where he's just fucking out of control, it's great. And he did that in this movie too. And I'm glad they didn't spoil it prior to me seeing it as well, which sometimes happens these days. But with Longlegs, I think, and I'll ask you because I mean you work in a movie house and you probably see this even more than I do, but I think Longlegs wasn't as good for me as an experience because of the marketing of the film, which sounds bad. Which sounds bad because I think the marketing was phenomenal, and I don't think they should have done anything differently. I just think that it was so juiced up, like months before you ever saw any actual frame from the film. It was all these weird hidden messages and like almost like found footage clips that they were using to like kind of tell the story pieced together over a couple months leading up to the release. And Neon is known for having really good marketing. So I don't know. I know that's unfair because obviously that doesn't affect the movie's quality in any way. I just feel like I would have enjoyed it more if I had not gotten so hyped up by the Excalibur marketing campaign. Does that make sense? Did you feel the same way? Or
it totally makes sense, and I do agree. If we're talking about best movie poster, I mean, the Longlegs marketing campaign was really, I don't know, just they had their finger on the pulse of something. True crime enthusiasts. It wasn't quite viral marketing, but it was like people were kind of piecing together, okay, what is this movie? And the movie is a pretty routine kind of Silence of the Lambs procedural satanic panic thriller. Again, very well made, but and divorced from the marketing versus the final product, it just doesn't hold together story wise for me.
Right.
That being said, I would love to watch it again. I do think Oz Perkins is like an exceedingly talented filmmaker, but yeah, I mean, all of these films, like even Alien Romulus, which I think has probably the most glaring flaws out of all the films on this list, I was a big fan of. It's a big budget alien fan film, and that's not a bad thing.
I loved it, man. I love the effects, like the slow motion shit at the end in that one scene where they're like floating through the ship, and the practical effects they use for the sets.
Love it.
It just got nominated for sound by the Academy. Just a tremendous sound design in the film. So yeah, and I love Kaylee Spaney too as a lead in that film. David Johnson, I think David Johnson was Oscar worthy in that film.
Sure.
We were talking about Lupita Nyong'o's voice acting earlier. It was very similar with his character, where he's a synthetic, who is kind of dim-witted, really, and doesn't have all of his knowledge. He's kind of a beginner, novice type of computer, and then over the course of the movie, he gains this knowledge through other means and becomes, the smartest person in the room. And it was a really layered performance in that way. I thought he was awesome in it. But yeah, this is a great group. I mean, it's no mystery to anybody watching this that follows my channel or my podcast that Nosferatu is my pick among this group. I mean, just the gothic horror impressionism that Robert Eggers gave us, and he is just a fucking madman when it comes to making movies. Like, it's so, he doesn't care if it makes $10 at the movie theater. He's going to make it as accurate as he possibly can based on whatever time period he's telling the story in. And there's just something admirable as a movie lover about that. I just love that.
Except for the fact that they're all speaking in English accents.
Yeah, I know.
In Germany, but
I know.
It's fine.
I know. But you gotta bend where you can, Come on,
Sure.
Eggers. But like, even with The Witch, like, which is probably still my favorite movie of his, this one would be a close second. But I couldn't understand him the first time I saw it, and it's my favorite Eggers film. Same thing could be said for like The Lighthouse. You got to turn on the subtitles to figure out what the hell these people are talking about. But he doesn't care. Like, that's, you know what I mean? That's not his.
Well, you still get the emotion of what's happening. I feel like you could watch the film with no dialogue and still understand the dynamics of the characters and So that speaks to his strength as a director. And all of his films are so rich and so evocative. And I mean, I think he's just one of the best doing it right now.
Yeah, I agree. And then just a quick shout out to Naomi Scott in Smile 2 specifically.
Oh my God. Well, we'll talk about her.
We will. She's coming up a little bit later, but I also thought that was, I don't know, man. Smile 2, I should have known we were going to spend the most time on horror. Me and you get together, but I mean, Smile 2 was like, of this group at least, the biggest surprise for me, because I can remember when that got greenlit. I did like the first one a lot. I mean, I think I gave it like a 7 or 8 out of 10. Like, I really liked it. But I remember when this one got greenlit, I'm thinking to myself, what are we going to do? We're going to make 10 of these, and they're all just going to be people smiling in the crowd. I mean, it's like, well, it surprised me so much because I think Naomi Scott's dedication to this role and her kind of encompassing and translating what it must feel like to literally be followed by an entity that you can't escape. I got it from her, and a similar like praise could be lauded on somebody like Nicholas Hoult in Nosferatu. Like, I got how intimidating and scary Orlok was from Nicholas Holt's performance and expressions in that movie, and it's very similar with Naomi Scott in Smile 2. You're a fan of Smile 2 too, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, it kind of reminded me of the jump between like the first Terrifier to Terrifier 2 in terms of like, it's like, it treads very familiar ground, but it's basically like the first movie on steroids. It's almost like approaching maximalism and just like how oppressive the atmosphere is and how wild some of the set pieces are. I mean, there's some really just insanely well done, like memorable horror sequences in this. And the culmination of everything, like, it makes you really interested to see where they'll take a third installment. And so like, I'm on the Smile train at this point.
Me too. Because Parker Finn turned me around with this one, because I knew I was going to see it because I did love the first one, but I was also like, this is probably going to be one of those, because you get the horror sequels and you go see them with high hopes, and you go, they fucked it up. Now I don't even like the original. You feel that way sometimes, But this one really surprised me. I think it's right up there with the first one. I mean, it's a great continuing of the story and the lore that's kind of been created with these films. All right, so that's your best horror movie, The Substance. I think Lois Sauce and I are both in agreement that is well deserved, and we'll probably be talking about it a little bit later too, because it's going to be showing up in a couple other categories throughout the night here. But next, we go from one of our favorite movies of the year, Lois Sauce, to a brand new category that was demanded by several fans of this show and of 2Ps. They wanted to see what would win the worst movie of the year. I didn't want to do that subjective Razzies thing where it's like, these are the worst. So I just told everybody to give me their, like, the worst movie that they saw, and that's how we kind of came up with the 5 nominees that we have in this category. And they're universally considered bad. I say that because one of the movies that got put on here by one of the community members is Hot Frosty, which I fucking loved. It is the stupidest movie I've ever seen in my life, about a snowman that comes to life and ends up having a love affair with Lacey Chabert. So, what are you going to do? I mean, it's high art,
It's kind of too good to be featured on this list. I mean, unless we're talking about like, wait, what? As in like, whoa, this is an insane premise. Because it is.
Right.
The premise is ludicrous. but it has a fair bit of charm and a lot of well-judged humor. I mean, it's definitely not the worst Netflix original holiday film I saw last year.
That's for damn sure. All right, let me give you the nominees, and then Loisos is going to reveal what won and got the most votes in our Wait What, the bad movie of the year. The nominees are Hot Frosty, as I mentioned, Madam Web, yikes, Megalopolis, the Francis Ford Coppola 3.5 hour screensaver, I don't know, Red One, and another Christmas movie, by the way, and Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2, which is, of course, is the, what are they calling it? They're calling it the Mickey verse or whatever. What do they call it? Where it's like the Pooh verse, I think.
Yeah,
the Poohniverse.
The Poohniverse. I mean, yeah, that's for damn sure.
Oh wow. Okay. All right. What won, Loisos, our bad movie of the year among those?
The winner is, or I guess you could call it a loser, but the winner is Madam Web.
Wow, I think that's actually right, though. I really do, because I think some of these other ones are. Well, let me ask you: you saw Madam Web, I assume?
I did see Madam Web.
I'm so sorry.
I mean, I think you could make the argument that it's like instantly one of the worst movies ever made. It's a movie with no purpose, no idea what it wants to be or who it wants to be for. The dialogue is inane. No one point of the film, like the plotting is just nonsensical. I think the Sony executives in charge of greenlighting these Spider-Man-less Spider-Man movies should all be put to death.
Mm-hmm.
That said, this is perhaps one of the most fun movie-going experiences that I've ever had in my entire life.
Yeah, I want to ask you, because this is you're kind of answering my question almost a little bit, but I want to ask you, like, is this intentionally a shit show, or do you think this was supposed to be like a Spider-Man level action comic book film? Because I feel like they had to do some of this shit on purpose.
I think it's just gross incompetence. I mean, if you watch any of the other, if you watch like Venom or Morbius, like I think they truly believe that like this is what audiences want to see. And I think to watch something crash and burn in real time is just so it's like you can't look away from it. So I watched this movie just kind of because I heard how bad it was, and there was a screening coming up, and both my partner and Justin, my buddy Justin of the Epic Film Guys podcast,
Shout out.
Yeah, we just happened to have a free afternoon, and we happened to be out. We had just gotten out of another screening, and we were the only ones in the theater, and we had the time of our lives.
Yeah,
talking back to the screen. We had a couple drinks beforehand, so we were like, we were just having a grand old time watching Madam Web. And I must admit, I did buy the movie on 4K Ultra HD.
Oh wow, you're the guy, huh? Well,
I'm the one person, because it's one of those things where it's like if you have people over and you're like, "Have you seen Madam Web?" and they're like, "No." It's
you got to see.
We're watching it. We're watching it right now.
You got to see this. Yeah, I mean, I echo everything you said. I mean, it's weird because it's one of those movies that is clearly a bad film. If you're categorizing it as good or bad, it's a bad film. But you do kind of have fun with it, which I almost want to give them the benefit of the doubt that was purposeful. But like you said, it's probably just because they didn't know what the hell they were doing or were misguided or whatever. I don't know. This is a weird category, but some of the fans spoke and we did it, and we threw out our bad movie of the year. I think it's a pretty accurate list of films. Were there any films on here that
I voted for
that you see and you go, "That's not bad," or what do you?
Well, no, I voted for Megalopolis because I mean, I have a warmer heart towards Megalopolis than the other films on this list because it's a passion project, and we love to see someone who at one point was considered a master filmmaker kind of come back and but along the way he must have forgotten how to tell a story because
that's what I'm thinking.
Because I mean it's just this like egomaniacal kind of self-insert, that far too many ideas that got away from him. I think he has grand ambitions. He's drawing parallels to to the United States of today and ancient Rome, but there's so much like comedy to be mined from the movie, and I think most of it is unintentional. It's kind of like watching. It reminded me of the work of one Neil Breen, where it's just like all of these kind of half-baked ideas, kind of grandstanding of like the kind of the moral standings of the filmmaker kind of leaking their way into the dialogue and the scenario, and you'll have moments like you'll see like a grand vista or like a really interesting display of like experimentation with filmmaking. And then you'll see John Voight slumped over in a bed shooting a tiny little bow and arrow, and you're like, what am I watching?
Took a weird turn. Yeah.
I mean, you read about how chaotic it was behind the scenes, how long it took to get this on screen. I admire the movie because, I agree with the central thesis of like, kind of like working together to make an idealized future. I really want to believe that Coppola's intentions were sincere in making this movie, but ultimately that's what it feels like to me. It feels like a sincere, monumental failure. And that's why I kind of, to me, like I'll always kind of gravitate towards an epic disaster that's well-intentioned, like Megalopolis, versus like Red One starring Dwayne Johnson, an Amazon original film. You know what I mean?
Oh my God. Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying there. 'Cause like you said, it was a labor of love for him too. And so that was your bad movie of the year, Madam Web. And now we got 4 categories left. I guess the core 4, the big 4, because we're going to do our 2 performances, our 2 acting categories. And then we will give out director and movie. First up, we're going to look at the best male performance. And that's being given out by our friend Emily Higgins from the Tasteless podcast. She is the first returning presenter to the Golden Peas, by the way. She was the previous presenter 2 years ago. She did best female that year. Now she's coming back to do best male. And just so everyone knows, for both of the acting awards here at the Golden Peas, it includes all performances, whether it's supporting or lead, it doesn't matter. If you're a male, you're grouped into this category. If you're a female, you're grouped into the next category. And like I said, it doesn't matter screen time or anything like that. So let's look at the nominees and hear from Miss Emily Higgins for the best male performance. And she will reveal the winner, and we'll be right back.
Hi, this is Emily from the Tasteless podcast, and I'm here to present the award for Best Male Performance of the Year. Can you believe the 2 Peas on a podcast are letting me do this category? I am delighted. This year in film has been very exciting. I think, I know Gerald will agree, in the horror category, we've gotten horror performances nominated for major awards. So this is a big year. We've got one in this category. Now, I'm, of course, a little more familiar with the women of the year, but that's why I'm so honored to get to present whatever lucky man you voted on. So here are the nominees for Best Male Performance.
Timothée Chalamet, A Complete Unknown.
Your songs are like an oil painting at the dentist's office.
You're kind of an asshole, Bob.
Yeah, I guess.
Coleman Domingo, Sing Sing.
Dying is easy. Comedy is hard. The character actor said that.
Hugh Grant, Heretic.
It's a simple choice, but it should not be made simply.
What happens if we choose the wrong door?
Chris Hemsworth, Furiosa.
I can tell you it made this child tough enough to survive all sorrows that may come her way.
Glenn Powell, Hitman.
You're assessing me. Am I the right guy to eliminate your problem?
Denzel Washington, Gladiator 2.
Just that perhaps your luck might change, shall we say, double of wits.
Okay, and the winner is, this is sealed, which is what I love about 2 Peas on a podcast. They take it very seriously. Let's see. Oh no, I have to be able to say this name. Timothée Chalamet, that's right. Right? Timothée Chalamet for A Complete Unknown, a film I will call out as having Monica Barbaro for Top Gun Maverick. But good work out there, Timothy. I'm sure that your little dancing self would be so proud to win a Golden Peas Best Male Award, the highest honor.
Aha! Timmy, my guy, wins the best male performance for his portrayal of Bob Dylan in A Complete Unknown. I couldn't be more thrilled. I have been, you know what? It's funny when I did my most anticipated movies of the year back in January of 2024. I told everybody then, without seeing one still of the movie, that he was going to be nominated for an Oscar for it. That's how much faith I have in this dude as a performer and as an artist. But anyway, he was also nominated for Golden P, and he won it tonight. This is a great group of actors, though. What do you think of? By the way, thank you, Miss Emily Higgins, for the great presentation there. What do you think, Lois Sauce? Timmy, are you on board? You with me?
I mean, sure. I didn't see A Complete Unknown, so I can't rightly throw in my two. I mean, if this were Timothée Chalamet being nominated for Dune Part 2, I'd be like, yeah,
dude,
totally, 100%.
Good,
But yeah, I'll catch it eventually. But yeah, I mean, a great group of leading men here. Sorry, I think I voted for Coleman Domingo. Just soulful and moving. Just one of the, I think one of the best performances I saw all last year. I like him generally, but I wasn't prepared for how fully Chris Hemsworth would absolutely body the villain role in Furiosa. Just
good, man.
Perfect mix of menace and gravitas, because like the character is just like a total showman. So I mean, I thought he nailed that. Glenn Powell is just like, the dude's just a movie star. I have a distinct memory. There's a part in which in Twisters in which in Twisters, but he was nominated for Hitman for this batch of films, right?
This, yeah.
Okay, yeah. But I was watching Twisters in the theater. There's a part in which he walks out wearing a white T-shirt with the rolled up sleeves and a cowboy hat, and multiple people in the audience just went,
Yeah. He just has it, man. He just has it. You know, you're right. I was probably one of those people. I mean, you know.
Yeah. And Hugh Grant, there's just like a devious glint in his eye. That lovable British charm is weaponized in this movie. And I think Paddington 2 just showed us all that he makes a wonderful scoundrel.
Yeah, he's been doing some really interesting things the last 5 years with the roles that he's decided to take on, and how eccentric they are and how different they are from that kind of boyish rom-com persona that he kind of got labeled with for many decades, honestly. And I just love the swerve with his choices lately. And Heretic is probably the best example of that. I mean, he was so fucking good in that movie. I fully supported him getting the Academy Award nomination. He got the BAFTA one, which is, of course he did. He's Hugh Grant. But I think he's great in it, man. I think aside from Timothée Chalamet, Hugh Grant would probably be my pick among this group. But this is a solid group of performers. And it's a mix of, there's two supporting here with Hemsworth and Denzel Washington from Gladiator 2. He was hamming it up in that movie. I know you said you didn't see it, but Denzel just kind of like what you said about Hemsworth. He just went, he went all in on this kind of, well, I won't give it away, but it's a very layered character that he really has his way with. He does a really good job with it. Very funny, very menacing. He's great in that movie. But I'm obviously thrilled, guys. I don't know if y'all did this for me. If you watch this channel or listen to the podcast and you just know that I love Timothée Chalamet way too much and you did it for me, I don't know, but I think he deserves it. So A Complete Unknown, Timothée Chalamet's portrayal of Bob Dylan is our best male performance this year. And I'm excited about that. We're going to move on to the best female performance next. Our other acting category. Talk about a good group of ladies here too. Wow. My fellow North Carolina Film Critics Group member, Lex, she also does the Culture Cabinet podcast. She's going to be giving away the award this year for the best female performance. I'm nervous, Lois. Some good ones in here. Let's see who wins, and we'll be right back.
Hi, this is Lex with Culture Cabinet, and I'm here to present the award for Best Female Performance of the Year. 2024 was a great year for women in film. From Witches and Bubbles to Cheated Grandmothers, each of these nominees brought grace, power, humor, and legacy to the screen and presented something in their performance that makes them worthy in their own right. However, there can only be one winner, so let's take a look at the nominees for Best Female Performance.
Ariana Grande, Wicked.
Come with me. What? To meet the wizard.
I couldn't possibly. This is your moment. I'm coming.
Mikey Madison, Anora.
It's a fraud marriage, and we're getting in an old ASAP.
Demi Moore, The Substance.
The balance just needs to be respected.
So respect it.
Naomi Scott, Smile 2.
Do not tell me what I just experienced, Anton!
June Squibb, Thelma.
But what is electricity? It boggles the mind. I think I know her.
Zendaya, Challengers.
You want my best piece of advice for you? Want me to coach you? Okay, quit.
And the winner of Best Female Performance is Demi Moore, The Substance.
All right, well, there you go. Thank you so much, Lex, for giving out the award for Best Female Performance, which went to Miss Demi Moore for The Substance. We've already talked about that film quite a few times. It was your favorite film of the year, Loy Sauce. I've got some opinions on this category, although I want to hear from you because I assume you are pleased with this result.
Well, of course I am. I don't think I voted for Demi Moore.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I think it's an well, I think it's a stroke of shrewd casting to begin with, because she's kind of been out of the spotlight for many years, and I think it's a brave performance, not because she, people usually say, "Oh, it's a brave performance," which usually means that the actress allows herself to look unattractive on screen.
Sure.
Or not as glamorous as they usually appear. But I think it's a genuinely brave performance, not because of that, but because she goes to some pretty dark and intense places for an actress in this role. And I like I said, I just think the way she tackles that role head on is very commendable.
I agree.
But I voted for Naomi Scott. I mean, we talked a little bit about Smile 2 already, but this is like, first of all, to be a believable pop star on screen is a challenge in and of itself.
Sure.
But you have to sing, you have to dance. It's an intensely physical performance. She has to be scared. She has to be vulnerable. She has to be badass. There's humor that she has to nail, and she does it all. I mean, she puts her everything into this performance, and I can't imagine the film without her.
Right.
So that was my pick, but I mean, among equals, it's a pretty outstanding group of women.
Yeah, it's a great group, and I'm pleased with Demi Moore winning here. Mikey Madison would have been my vote. Again, if you follow my channel during award season, no shock there. She's been my favorite, at least among the female performances all season.
Sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
The way that Mikey Madison, there are some line reads in Anora that are simultaneously like bitingly funny and just like utterly devastating. And the way that she manages to pull them off in one swoop is just, I don't know, that takes tremendous skill as an actress.
Yeah, I thought it was a beautiful marriage when I heard of her being cast in a Sean Baker film, not even really knowing the premise when I initially heard it. I mean, she's one of my ghost faces. I love her. I mean, she's actually one of my favorite ghost faces in the whole Scream series. So I was on board immediately. I was like, oh my God, that's a perfect like merge of director and actress, up and coming actress that really has a chance to prove herself. And I mean, I think she did. I mean, she's in the Academy Award discussion after this, one really, I mean, feature major performance that she's really given, where she's in the lead and the titular character and all that stuff. And I mean, I was just connected to her and her story in the movie and that frantic kind of growth, like rapid growth that her character has to go through in like a 7-day period, and how it's just like enhanced on such a like, oh my God, like, you're hopped up on Red Bull following her story. And then you kind of come down from that, and you're left there with her and her character and the reckoning that she's kind of internally going through. And like, because it was such a fun movie, right? Like, I mean, fun in terms of like the energy and like,
it's a screwball farce for a lot of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a juggling of different tones. It's comedy's hard. Comedy is probably the most challenging thing to nail as an actor. It's one thing to yell and cry. It's another to like land a punchline or
make people laugh, right?
Exactly.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I'm pleased with the Demi Moore shout out. I think the Golden Peas, like I was telling you when we were off camera, is kind of staying in line with everybody else on the award circuit. I mean, her lineage in Hollywood and her history there, and like you said, kind of being out of the spotlight and then coming back into this arguably maybe the most memorable movie of 2024 that might have its name kind of live on attached with that year, regardless of what happens on the circuit. The Substance, I mean. And she comes into that role, and it's a role that eerily kind of mirrors her own career. And, I mean, yeah, she absolutely killed it. She was easily one of the best performances of the year. So the community voted, and Demi Moore wins the best female performance of 2024 for The Substance. That is awesome. Now we got to give out best director, Loy Sauce. We don't have a presenter for that one. You and I are going to be doing that. So I think it is your turn to read the nominees, or mine. I can't remember.
I believe last time I read the nominees. I could be
So
wrong.
I'll read. We'll just go for it. Who cares?
Okay.
Nobody cares. I don't know where I am right now. All right. So I will read the nominees, and then you will reveal the winner to us. There are 6 nominees in the category for best director. Again, these nominees were chosen by a community of my peers. Here we go. So for best director, the nominees are Sean Baker for Anora, as if he needs anything else after this past weekend, but nonetheless. Robert Eggers for Nosferatu. Coralie Farja for The Substance. Rose Glass for Love Lies Bleeding. First time we've mentioned that one today. Jane Schoenbrunn for I Saw the TV Glow. And Denis Villeneuve for Dune Part 2. Loy Sauce, of those 6, who is getting the Best Director award this year?
And the deserved winner of Best Director is Mr. Denis Villeneuve.
Hey! Fucking finally! I mean, people weren't even nominating him on the circuit, let alone him winning. I mean, this is... Oh, my God, I'm going to get so animated right now talking about this. Okay.
Well, that's why...
What do you think?
That's why the Golden Peas are so revered, is because,
maybe.
The fact that you have this, like, majestic filmmaking on display, and everyone just kind of seems to ignore it. I mean,
okay, yeah.
I mean, he's taking this like timeless story, and really injecting an emotional weight that I think a lesser filmmaker would kind of gloss over in adapting such a timeless story. I really do think there's a political pertinence to Dune Part 2. It's definitely a warning of the rise of fascism and globalism and all the rest of it. And to make it on such an epic grand scale, I mean, I think there were just so many in terms of like casting and visuals. Like, it's just an extremely well judged piece of work, just top to bottom.
Can I ask you something? I'm sorry.
Yeah, go for it.
I want to ask you something that kind of interjects into the conversation that you already have, the commentary you're already giving there. But do you think the industry, or people that do these awards, that make up these awards bodies, do you think that because it's in a perceived trilogy, or at a minimum it's a part 2, but of course Messiah is coming based on the money that Warner Bros. Made from this, that they're taking the direction for granted? I mean, because I'm only asking not to be like pretentious in any way, but it's just like when I look at it, and there, like I already said, there's a fucking ton of movies up and down the 2024 list that I love. But when I look at the direction of like the movies that I love this year, I would think that if you were a director, and I've said this on my channel before, that I would think if your career was being a director, you would see Dune Part 2 and you would go, how the hell did he do that? Like, it would be like you were watching a dream, like you wouldn't believe what you were seeing. And I wonder if people that are in that circle take it for granted. I mean, I just don't get the lack of accolades for the direction of that film. I really don't. It's like the most baffling thing that I've encountered in the last 6 months.
I mean, if I had to guess, I mean, it is part of a blockbuster franchise. It came out really early in the year. I think Dune earning its nominations, maybe they weren't, they kind of wanted to pass along the love to other filmmakers. I mean, I don't know. I can't really say. I don't pretend to know the inside secrets of these voters. I don't like to psychoanalyze, because then I just want to blow my brains out. But I think it is abundantly clear that Dune Part 2, even though it is part of a blockbuster franchise, is the work of an artist.
Without a doubt. Yeah,
And very well deserved. I mean, Coralie Vacher, for me, I think that's who I would throw the vote out to, just because
so good.
She faced pressure from Universal when the film was initially with them to change the ending, and she flat out refused. She told them to fuck off, basically. And to have the complete confidence in your work, to stand up to a major studio like that, there was a risk that The Substance would never be seen, because if movie didn't pick it up for distribution, like, I mean, there's a distinct possibility that, you know,
nobody would have. Yeah,
to believe in your work that much, I think, is just. And then, of course, she takes great care in how her films look and sound and feel. I mean, again, The Substance, I think it wouldn't be my favorite film of the year if you didn't have a director,
for sure,
like her at the helm.
Of all the ones listed here, the 6 listed, I mean, I would say her, along with probably Jane Schoenbrunn for TV Glow, but those in particular, from a direction standpoint, is like the vision is so clear. You know, like you can, it's very expressive in just the vision, just the way, just looking at it, you know. And I think those 2 films in particular kind of speak to that quality that I really look for in a filmmaker, and I really appreciate in both of those films in particular. Yeah, great group. And your winner for Best Director, man, you guys are coming through for me. Timothée Chalamet first, and now Denis. They did this for me. They had to have done this for me. I mean, no, maybe not. I mean, Denis was a great director, so I'll accept it. So we only have 1 award left to give out, and then we will wrap up, Loy Sauce. We're going to obviously be giving out the award for the Best Movie of the Year. There are 10 nominees in the category, and it's going to be given away this year by our friend Brendan Cassidy from In Session Film. First time on the show, really, and first time presenting at the Golden Peas. Brendan, take it away. We will find out who won Best Movie. We'll be right back.
Greetings, cinephiles. This is Brendan Cassidy, co-host of the In Session Film podcast, currently channeling my inner Count Orlok right now, or at least attempting to, or perhaps knowing that Gerald has the best beard in all of film criticism. I felt like I just needed something to compete with, and the competition ends here. I am honored to be presenting the award for Best Movie of the Year here at the Golden Peas. Now, regarding the year 2024, as we are currently seeing with the ongoing awards race right now with a film that we will not name and some of the controversies around that, this was a very weird year for movies. The summer movie season was kind of a bummer. There really wasn't any cultural touchstone in the vein of a Barbenheimer, but like every year, it was filled with great movies if you either knew where to look or if you were simply lucky enough to have it playing in your city. I feel like that theme of access was a huge one in 2024. And as we'll see with these 10 nominees here, it was a great year for modern directors taking big cinematic chances with really medium-sized budgets, which is something we absolutely should be celebrating. So without further ado, here are the nominees for Best Movie.
Anora, Challengers, A Complete Unknown, Dune Part 2, I Saw the TV Glow, Love Lies Bleeding, Nosferatu, The Substance, Thelma, Wicked,
All right. I've got the trusted envelope here. Best movie. The winner for best movie of 2024 at the Golden Peas is Dune Part 2. Certainly one of the most monumental films of the year. Denis Villeneuve doing things that many filmmakers would dream that they could do. Thanks to everyone who participated in this year's Golden Peas. Congrats to Dune Part 2 for winning the award for Best Movie. Here's to a great 2025. We'll see y'all next time.
Well, look at this. We got the director and the film combo, Loisos. So we've already kind of talked about it, but your best movie of the year voted on by the fans is Dune Part 2 from Denis Villeneuve, starring Mr. Timothy Chalamet. A lot going on with Denis and Timothy in the last 20 minutes on the show. Obviously Zendaya, Rebecca Ferguson, Javier Bardem, so many great. Austin Butler, who's really great in this film as a villain, a newly introduced villain in the movie. I know we've already kind of talked about it, but looking at the rest of the group here, are you surprised with the outcome or pleased with it? What do you think?
Not necessarily. I mean, I do my own. I kind of do my own top 10 with the members of our local film club at the Alamo Drafthouse, and Dune Part 2. Well, the original Dune won the year that it came out, and then Part 2 came at a very close second, with The Substance being number 1. So, I mean, I think people, first of all, a ton of people saw Dune Part 2. And I think if you saw it, chances are you were impressed by it. And so, yeah, I mean, I could definitely, again, this being the year of the sequel, if we're talking about how the sequels stack up and everything. I mean, Dune Part 2, I think, comes out on top. And it's kind of emblematic of the year in a way. So, yeah, absolutely. I mean,
I think it's great. I mean, I think it's great. I mean, the only movie I ranked higher than Dune Part 2 this year was Nosferatu. And I didn't think that would have a broad enough appeal to win, especially coming out so late in the year. And maybe not everybody getting a chance to see it when they were voting and et cetera. But honestly, there's not a movie in this 10 that I didn't at least really like. Most of them I loved, but I really liked all the movies that are presented here. Even Wicked, I mean, I'm not a musicals guy, but I dug Wicked. I thought Ariana Grande was awesome in it, and
I thought Wicked,
Cynthia Erivo, and
I thought Wicked was an immense achievement, or like an undertaking to adapt such a beloved show and do it,
and
like
a pretty recently beloved show. I mean, it's not like a classic show from the 50s or whatever. I mean, it's like,
well, that's true. Although people forget it's over 20 years old now.
It is.
So I mean, it's such a phenomenon that it's like you don't want to break it. And I think,
right.
I mean, John M. Chu deserves credit for his creative choices, and I think I think history will be kind towards it, because that was a controversy in and of itself, the splitting of the play into two parts, two different movies for each act. And I think that was a very smart decision to let the material breathe and to not make all of these liberal cuts and changes, and the story would not be nearly as powerful, I think, if you didn't allow it to build. So smart decisions all around, great casting. I mean, I do have to shout out, because we kind of skipped over it when we talked about best comedy, but Thelma. This was one of my top 10 favorite films of the year. I just thought it was delightful. I felt more genuine fear and tension and laughed out loud involuntarily more watching this than most movies, just in general.
Sure.
June Squibb and Fred Heschinger, they just have my whole heart. I just loved. I would show it to anyone.
It's so good.
So yeah,
and you're right. I mean, Logan saw it when he's 11 and he loved it. I loved it. It was in my top 10 of the year also, and there was a bit of emotionality to that movie that you don't really expect either, because the writer and director based that on his relationship with his actual grandmother, and this scam happened to her, and he kind of made it a little more Hollywood past that point.
Well, not Hollywood, but it's like a wish fulfillment fantasy of what probably he hoped would have happened, but just loved it so much. I feel like another film that isn't really getting its deserved like awards attention is Challengers. This was in my top 10 as well. Sexy and propulsive. I mean, like it just like it moves and it builds to an ending that's just thrilling. The ending to Challengers, like you want to stand up and cheer, and that's what the movie ends with, people standing up and cheering. But I think the reason why is because you're so invested in the characters. At a certain point, like tennis is but a metaphor to talk about like the character dynamics and the sexual kind of dynamics in the film, but none of that would work if you weren't invested in what was happening. So really smart screenplay, energetic direction, just God, what a great film.
Yeah. I don't know why I have this feeling of surprise that Dune Part 2 won, but I just didn't expect it, I guess. Maybe because of the undervaluing that's been going on this award season of it. But thank you so much to the Two Piece community. You guys have voted, and the best movie of the year, according to you, is Dune Part 2. Also, Denis Villeneuve for Best Director. Loisos, we wrap up the Golden Peas every year by kind of shouting out a movie that you feel like is underseen, that did not get talked about enough, that definitely did not get mentioned tonight. What is one of your favorite movies that if you could tell people to go check it out that they probably have not seen?
I'm going to shout out like a few, if that's okay.
Man, do it. Yeah.
Loved Problemista. That came out early in the year, and I just thought that was so like incisive and funny and sweet. Killer Tilda Swinton performance. Julio Torres is definitely a talent that I'll be keeping my eye on. Film that I saw really late in the year, but it completely won me over, was Sometimes I Think About Dying.
Okay, I've heard of that one. I haven't seen it.
Daisy Ridley is just exquisite in that film. It's so simple and so quiet, but Devitt's like just so moving. The People's Joker, which was like a DIY kind of pastiche parody of DC properties and the iconography of the character of the Joker, and using that as a vessel to kind of tell a very personal story about the trans experience and the trans journey. In my opinion, way more effectively than I Saw the TV Glow did. And then lastly, Hundreds of Beavers, which is also a very DIY kind of production, but basically a live action Looney Tunes cartoon. And it is so funny. And again, one of those theater experiences that I'll remember for the rest of my life, just because of like how it brought people together through laughter.
Well, a couple I'll shout out. I mean, it's weird to say that it's underseen because it did just get nominated for Best Picture, but I still don't feel like enough people have seen it. I'm sure they're seeking it out a little bit more now, but it's a movie from Brazil called I'm Still Here. It's an international film that's based on the true story of the late 60s, early 70s military dictatorship in Brazil. And Fernanda Torres plays a mother who is trying to keep her family, children of 5, together during this kind of unsure, tragic time in her country. And one of the best movies I've seen this year, and definitely one of the better performances I've seen this year. I would also shout out a movie that kind of got critically panned, and I went in watching it. I had like a screener for it, and I was like, why am I watching this? I'm going to hate it. And I loved it. I thought it was so good. Marielle Heller's Night Bitch with Amy Adams. I really liked it. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think that the surrealistic elements to that film are what people had a problem with, and how it was maybe trying to be too comedic for the subject matter, but it just made sense to me. I mean, I don't know if it's because I have small kids or because I saw my wife literally go through a lot of the things that Amy Adams goes through in the movie when I was working a different job and stuff. So I just connected to it on a personal level, and I got the analogy of like, women kind of feeling like they're turning into a beast after they give birth because, their body's changing and, they have stuff popping up that they didn't know existed. And like, I got all that stuff. It didn't bother me at all. And Amy Adams is phenomenal in it.
Great performance.
And the only other one I'll mention, and I know you're a big fan of Jim Cummings too, but he starred in a movie called The Last Stop in Yuma County.
Love it.
Last year. Yeah. And it's a great little small town crime kind of caper. I don't know. It's got a weird vibe to it. It's a single location movie for the most part, where everybody's kind of trapped in this small town diner, and there's nothing around but the diner and like a gas station next door. And
shades of Coen brothers and Tarantino.
Absolutely,
but yeah,
100%. But yeah, there's a bank robbery, and the bank robbers end up stopping at the diner that he happens to be at. He's a traveling salesman. There's I guess shootout's the right word. I don't know if there's like a tense shootout in the diner with multiple characters that we've kind of gotten to know through the first hour of the film or so. That was very reminiscent of the bar scene in Inglourious Bastards. And you mentioned Tarantino, like it reminded me of that. Like, and if you like that and you know what I'm talking about, you'll like, that's a great one take, like 3-minute scene of like literally like 10 characters involved in this kind of shootout. And it's awesome. So I would shout that one out. I'm pretty sure that you can stream that one right now too, called The Last Stop in Yuma County. So
Hello? Am I coming through? Oh, there we go. Hey, Tubi friends. It is your friend, Old Man Brad. Gerald, you need to change your password. It shouldn't be Mia Goth, and I wouldn't be able to break in. I'm busting in because nobody gives Tubi love. So I am here to give an unofficial, unsanctioned award to the top Tubi original. So our nominees for 2024 are The Thicket, Calamity Jane, Slay, Low Lives, Killer Body Count. Got it right here. The Tubi goes to Slay. It is an absolute blast of a movie. If you have not seen it, go check it out. I'm going to let you have control back for the Golden Peas. Gerald and Loy Sauce are going to go slay the rest of the show.
that was our discussion of 2024 in film, Loy Sauce. You looking forward to doing this again next year, 2025? We got to, man. We got to. Yeah,
always.
Yeah, I love having you, and you're one of my favorite people in the world. I know we'll do something obviously before then too, but thanks so much for doing it, man. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, and thanks everyone for listening and voting, and we'll see you next time.
We'll see you next time, guys. That was the Golden Peas Movie Awards. Thank you so much to all of our presenters. I mean, these guys take time out to, record the clips, send them to me. It's a lot of work to be a part of the show for like a minute. So thank you so much for being a part of it. And I can't wait to do it again next year. I love celebrating film, and thank you to everybody that voted in the ballot this year. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. I'm going to be doing all kinds of movie stuff always. So hopefully you'll tune in the near future. Loy Sauce, thanks again, man. That's it for the Golden Peas. And we'll see you when we talk about 2025.